Picture this. You type one sentence into a website, a rain-soaked cyberpunk alley, detective monologue, distant sirens. 30 seconds later, you are watching a fully scored shot. Neon reflections on wet pavement, a trench coat in the wind, and a gravel-voiced narrator whose lips actually match every word. No timeline, no sound library, no microphone, just one prompt, one render. But here is the part nobody expected. The sound is not an afterthought anymore. It is baked into the same brain that makes the images. This is Kling 2.6, ByteDance's latest AI video model, and it just broke the sound barrier. Instead of giving you a silent clip that you have to fix in post, Kling generates dialogue, sound effects, and ambience in the same pass as the visuals. One render, one file, no separate audio project. For anyone who has wrestled with text-to-speech, Foley libraries, and a digital audio workstation, this is a radical promise. In a minute, we are going to see where it fails in hilarious ways, but first, you need to understand why this changes who gets to make films next. Traditional AI video tools forced you into a weird silent movie workflow. You would generate a clip, then hunt for a voice generator, then drag in sound effects, then mix everything by hand in Premiere or Resolve. Kling 2.6 collapses that whole stack into a single generate button in your browser. You type a rain-soaked alley, detective monologue, distant sirens, and it synthesizes the voice, the background noise, and the on-screen actions together from the same latent space. The footsteps, the door slam, the camera move, they are all born in sync instead of stitched together later. That joint training matters more than it sounds, because picture and sound are generated together. Kling can lock lip shapes, footsteps, and impacts to specific frames instead of drifting off over time. And revisions feel completely different. Instead of recutting audio every time you tweak a line, you just regenerate the clip, and the model automatically rebalances dialogue, sound effects, and ambience as one unit. It behaves less like a film set with separate stems and more like a game engine that mixes sound in real time. The payoff is huge. For solo creators, the one-click short film is no longer marketing hype, it is the new baseline every rival model has to match. So how good is it when you actually push it? The first big test is a moody clip called Doom Detective. Imagine a PlayStation 3 era noir cutscene. A trench-coated investigator leans over a city balcony, neon bleeding into puddles, while Kling generates not just the visuals, but the voiceover and ambience in a single pass. Lip sync lands surprisingly well for a first-generation audio model. Mouth shapes track consonants and open vowels closely enough that you stop staring at the lips after a few seconds, and jaw motion roughly follows the rhythm of the speech instead of looping randomly. But here is where things start to feel uncanny. The detective's voice sits in that strange space between text-to-speech and a real actor. It is a neutral American accent, medium pitch, with a slightly gravelly texture that fits the noir stereotype, but it does not quite sell age or fatigue. The pacing is mostly consistent, though you will hear tiny pauses that do not line up with where commas would be in a script. Ambient sound, however, absolutely sells the scene. Kling layers rain, low city rumble, and distant traffic into a coherent bed, mostly free of obvious loops or abrupt cuts in a 10 to 15-second shot. And here is the dangerous part for traditional workflows. Generating that fully scored, lip-synced clip takes about as long as a silent one. We are talking tens of seconds, not minutes. But once you move beyond a single moody shot, Kling's new voice system starts to wander. A hard-boiled detective can begin a line in gravelly baritone English and finish it in a lighter, vaguely European accent, as if another actor quietly took over mid-sentence. Across multiple shots, it gets worse. The same character might swing from low to high pitch, flip between American and British tones, or even shift perceived gender between cuts. This is not just a funny glitch. It reveals a core weakness. Vocal identity is not treated as a first-class object in Kling's pipeline. In traditional animation and dubbing, a character is anchored to a specific actor or a locked voice model for years. Kling 2.6, by contrast, treats voice like another visual texture, closer to lighting variation than to a stable performance. To keep a character sounding consistent, you would need a persistent speaker embedding per character, cross-shot conditioning so the model remembers that voice, and explicit controls for pitch, timbre, accent, and language that stay locked until you change them. Right now, those controls are implicit and stochastic. You can prompt gruff New York detective or soft-spoken woman, but the system reinterprets that description every time you hit generate. For narrative work, this is brutal. Viewers anchor on voice even more than on face. So if your lead sounds like three different people in 30 seconds, suspension of disbelief snaps. And then there is pirate core, where everything goes off the rails. Rapid fire prompts like cyberpunk pirate ship courtroom, pirate newscast in a hurricane, or children's cartoon pirate cooking show push Kling into pure chaos. Dialogue often arrives scrambled. A character opens their mouth right on cue, but the line morphs mid-sentence. Secure the cargo becomes secure the cargo, or veers into unrelated fragments, as if multiple half-remembered scripts are bleeding together. When 3 or 4 pirates argue at once, Kling frequently collapses them into one muddled voice, then hands a line to the wrong mouth, desyncing lips by a few hundred milliseconds. Prompt-specific terms suffer the most. Made-up ship names, fantasy locations, or proper nouns that Kling nails visually often melt into audio slurry. The model replaces them with generic pirate barks and filler syllables that sound busy but mean nothing. Under-sustained pirate core prompting, hallucinations spike. You hear cannons firing in a quiet cabin, crowds cheering in an empty bay, or a talk radio monologue about traffic while the on-screen character silently counts coins in a tavern. For professional AI filmmaking, this unpredictability is a hard stop for tightly scripted dialogue, brand-safe ads, or anything that needs legal sign-off on exact wording. But for experimental artists, that same chaos can feel like an always-on surrealism machine. Beyond spoken lines, Kling 2.6 is quietly trying to eat another job, sound design. Normally, you build Foley and ambience in a dedicated audio workstation, not a text box. Here, you describe rainy alley, distant traffic, flickering neon hum, and the model attempts to construct that entire acoustic world automatically. Early tests show it understands broad environmental categories. City streets get car noise and chatter, forests get wind and birds, interiors get air conditioning rumble and room tone. The sound bed almost never drops to silence, which makes clips feel finished in a way mute AI video never did. But when you zoom in, the limits show. Footsteps on wet pavement versus dry grass do sound different, but more like preset swaps than true physical simulation. Impacts from punches, doors, or dropped objects have some low-end punch, yet lack the layered detail a human sound designer would build from multiple samples. Timing sits in the uncanny middle. On a 4-second punch, the hit usually lands within a couple of frames, good enough for social video, but sloppy for cinema. Complex sequences, like running, falling, then a crash, often smear into one dull thud. Compared with pro sound effect libraries, Kling trades precision for speed. For solo creators and fast previs, that is a massive win. For mixers who live on reverb tails and volume automation, it feels locked in and hard to polish. Here is where ByteDance pulls out its secret weapon, Seedream 4.5. While Kling tries to be the end-to-end camera and soundstage, Seedream behaves like the concept artist, costume department, and continuity supervisor all in one. You use it before you ever hit generate video. Its headline trick is advanced temporal consistency. Instead of hallucinating a new face every frame, it can lock onto a character's bone structure, clothing motifs, and color palette, and carry that identity across dozens of shots. The same stability applies to props, logos, and set dressing, which stay anchored as the rules of your world. Seedream's second pillar is what ByteDance calls world understanding, and it really shows when you stress test time. In one demo, you build a single character and street, then jump from 1972 to 1982, 1992, 2002, 2012, 2022, and 2032. Seedream keeps the character recognizable while evolving everything else. Flared jeans become acid wash denim, then baggy 90s fits, then skinny jeans, then speculative future tech wear. Cars, storefront typography, film grain, and even background extras all shift to match each decade. Suddenly, you are not just making random clips. You are pre-visualizing a whole mini-series Bible in one coherent design space. Put together, Seedream 4.5 and Kling 2.6 hint at a new pro workflow. You start in Seedream, generating character sheets, costume variants, and environment packs that define your visual canon. Then you feed those into Kling as locked references, letting it handle motion, camera, and now native audio. Without that upstream discipline, every Kling clip is just a one-off hallucination, not a coherent film. With it, you get something closer to a compressed post-production pipeline that lives in your browser. And here is what is at stake. If one person with a laptop can pre-visualize a time-spanning series and output lip-synced, fully scored shots in minutes, the economics of filmmaking, advertising, and even YouTube storytelling start to tilt. So where does that leave Kling 2.6 today? It is not a Hollywood-ready replacement for actors, sound designers, or mixers. Wandering voices, scrambled pirate dialogue, and rigid sound beds make it risky for anything that needs precise, repeatable performance. But it is already a game changer for prototypes, previs, social content, and experimental art. The revolution is in progress, not finished. If you want more deep dives into tools like Kling and Seedream, and you care about where AI filmmaking is really heading, hit subscribe, drop a comment with the tests you want to see next, and share this with a creator who is still stuck in a silent movie workflow. The next version might arrive sooner than any of us expect.